Much as we have now the reign of King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla, the future is William and Kate.
And their children.
They found it 3 weeks after the funeral, not in the royal archives, not in the state rooms at Buckingham Palace. In a private safe at Balmoral, behind a portrait of Princess Margaret, locked with a combination only 2 people ever knew. One of them was dead. The other was Prince William. Inside that safe was a single envelope, cream-coloured, sealed with black wax, and marked with 4 words in the late Queen's handwriting. Only if she tries. No name, no explanation, just a date, September 2022, the same month the Queen died. Before we go further, hit subscribe. You're about to hear a story the palace has worked very hard to keep quiet. William opened it alone. No advisors, no private secretaries, not even Catherine. What he found inside wasn't a letter. It was a list. 23 names, all members of the royal household. All people who had, according to the Queen's notes, expressed concerning interest in Princess Charlotte's future role. And at the very top of that list, underlined twice, Camilla's private secretary. Beside it, a single annotation. Preparing alternative guidance structure, monitor closely. The Queen hadn't just suspected interference, she had documented it. Here's what most people don't know about royal education. When a young royal reaches the age of 7, decisions are made. Not about school, about formation. Who will guide them? Who will mentor them? Which traditions they'll be taught? Which members of the family will be given formal access to shape their understanding of duty? It's not ceremonial, it's structural. And for Princess Charlotte, that process had been quietly accelerating. Camilla had begun positioning herself as a stabilising presence for the Cambridge children, appearing in photos with them at family events, sitting beside Charlotte at Trooping the Colour, offering to host private teas where, as she described it, the children can learn what it truly means to serve. To most observers, it looked like a grandmother figure stepping in. To William, it looked like a rehearsal. Because Camilla wasn't Queen Elizabeth. She hadn't spent 70 years embodying restraint. She had spent 2 decades carefully rebuilding a reputation, and she wasn't about to let the next generation of royals forget who had survived the longest. But here's the problem. According to the documents William found in that envelope, none of it had been approved. Not by him, not by Catherine, and not notably by the Queen. In fact, one memo, dated July 2022, just 2 months before Elizabeth died, contained a direct instruction to the master of the household. All matters relating to Princess Charlotte's royal instruction are to be coordinated exclusively through the Prince of Wales. No deputy authority is to be assumed. It was polite, it was clear, and it had been completely ignored. Late May, Clarence House. An intimate gathering, the kind not listed in the court circular. Family and close friends only. Charlotte was there with her brothers, running between the hedges, laughing at something Louis had said. The sun was out, everything felt light. And then Camilla's granddaughter, 12 years old, confident, used to being included, leaned over to Charlotte while the adults weren't looking and said something that made the younger girl go completely still. No one heard it, but everyone saw what happened next. Charlotte's face flushed. She didn't cry, she didn't run. She just walked very quietly to her mother and whispered, "I want to leave now." Kate looked at her daughter, then at Camilla's granddaughters, then at William. She didn't ask what happened. She simply said, "We're going." It wasn't until later that night, after George and Louis were asleep, that Charlotte finally told them. The girl had said, "My granny says your mum's only queen because she married the right person. Mine actually matters." Catherine's face didn't change. William put down his phone. "Say that again," he said quietly. Charlotte repeated it, word for word. William didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He stood, walked into his study, and pulled the envelope from the locked drawer where he'd kept it since the day he'd opened it at Balmoral. He reread the list. Then he made a single phone call. By morning, Camilla's private secretary had been reassigned. It happened in a corridor at Windsor. No photographs, no witnesses, just William and Camilla, standing 10 feet apart, both perfectly aware that this wasn't a misunderstanding. Camilla spoke first. "I only ever wanted to help." William didn't blink. "Help wasn't asked for. I thought, given everything your father and I have built—" "You thought," William interrupted, "that proximity was permission." Silence. Camilla's expression shifted. The practiced warmth was gone. "Your grandmother trusted me." "My grandmother," William said quietly, "left me a list." He didn't show it to her. He didn't need to. Camilla understood immediately. "You don't know what it's like," she said, her voice tighter now. "To spend decades being judged. To finally have a role, To want to leave something. You have a role, William cut in. And it doesn't include my daughter. Another pause. Did Charles approve this? William asked. Camilla hesitated. That was answer enough. 2 weeks later, an announcement. Quiet, barely reported. Camilla's granddaughters would no longer participate in official royal engagements, no explanation given. But inside the palace, everyone understood. The Queen Consort had overreached, and the Prince of Wales had drawn a line she would not be allowed to cross again. Here's the part that should disturb you. The envelope William found. It wasn't reactive. It was preemptive. The Queen had written those names, tracked those movements, and flagged those conversations, not because something had already happened. Because she knew it would. She had seen this pattern before. People who mistook access for authority, who believed their proximity to power entitled them to shape the future, who thought that because they had survived scandal, they had earned the right to guide the next generation. Elizabeth had spent a lifetime watching people like that manoeuvre, and in her final months she made sure William would have everything he needed to stop it, not with confrontation, with information. It happened in October, a minor royal event. Family arrivals staggered throughout the afternoon. Camilla's daughter approached the estate entrance, expecting to be waved through as always. But the staff hesitated. Not long, just a beat. And in that beat, Princess Charlotte, 9 years old, perfectly composed, stepped forward and placed herself directly in front of the gate. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. Her presence was the answer. Camilla's daughter stopped, looked confused, looked toward the staff for clarification. None came. Charlotte stood there, chin level, eyes calm, and for 5 long seconds, no one moved. Then, slowly, Camilla's daughter stepped back. She didn't enter. She turned and left. Witnesses said later that Charlotte's expression never changed. Not smug, not angry, just certain. As if she'd been taught, perhaps by her father, perhaps by something deeper, that authority is not about titles. It's about knowing when to stand your ground. Tom Parker Bowles quietly stepped back from royal commentary. Camilla's public engagements became notably more individual. And Princess Charlotte? She kept her journal, attended her lessons, learned her history. And when someone recently asked her what she wanted to be when she grew up, she didn't say Queen. She said, someone my great-grandmother would be proud of. William never told her about the envelope. But something tells me she already knows. If this story gave you chills, drop a like and share it with someone who understands that the crown isn't inherited, it's earned. Let me know your thoughts.